I was standing on the porch of my lake cabin, coffee in hand, sunrise over the water, when the flashing lights of a sheriff's cruiser came bouncing down my gravel driveway. The reason? A woman I'd never seen before, dressed like she was, headed to a board meeting in Beverly Hills, had just called 911 on me for refusing to leave HOA property. Only problem? That HOA property was my front yard, my cabin, my land, my rules. Her exact words to dispatch? There's a trespasser in cabin 14 refusing to leave. I'm the president of the HOA, and he's being hostile. Hostile? Lady, the only thing I was fighting was mosquitoes and a broken coffee machine. Now, I know you're probably wondering, why didn't I just explain? Oh, I did. I even showed her my deed. Didn't matter. She was convinced that her clipboard and made-up rules gave her some kind of authority. But here's the kicker, and the part she really didn't see coming. I didn't just own the cabin. I didn't just own the land under it. Thanks to an inheritance from my grandfather and a series of quirky land acquisitions over the years, I own the whole damn county. When the sheriff stepped out of his cruiser, ready to take down the trespassers. I handed him something better than an ID. I handed him the deed. And the look on Karen's face? Priceless. She had no idea who she was dealing with. And that's when everything changed. Let me rewind a bit. This whole mess started because I wanted some peace and quiet. I've always had a soft spot for the cabin. Nestled deep in pine trees, surrounded by rolling hills and a glimmering private lake, it was a sanctuary my grandfather built with his own hands in the 1960s. It wasn't just a vacation home. It was a piece of family history. When Grandpa passed, he left it to me, along with a hefty chunk of the surrounding land. Over the years, I'd continued to buy up parcels of the county to protect the forest and keep it natural. No plans to develop, no signs, no pavement. Just woods, water, and wildlife that I hadn't been there in months, thanks to a hectic job and even crazier city life. But that weekend, I decided to unplug. No emails, no phone, no distractions. Just me, my truck, a cooler full of steaks, and the cabin. I arrived late Friday, unlocked the gate to my private road, and rolled in like I always had. No issues. Saturday morning, I made coffee, grabbed a chair, and sat on the porch to take in the view. Peaceful, quiet, perfect, until she arrived. Out of nowhere, this middle-aged woman in an aggressively color-coordinated jogging suit stomped her way up my gravel path like she owned the place. Hair pulled tight, oversized sunglasses, one of those fake pearls on a string smiles. She didn't wave. Didn't say good morning. She just said, "You can't be here. This cabin is under HOA management, and you're trespassing." I blinked. At first, I thought she was confused. Maybe new to the area. Maybe she got lost. But oh no, she knew exactly where she was. And she had an agenda. That peaceful weekend? About to go straight to hell. "Excuse me?" I asked, standing up slowly. She planted herself in front of the porch like she was expecting backup. "This is restricted HOA property," she said, squinting at me. "You're not on the list of registered occupants. You need to vacate immediately, or I'll have you cited." I looked at her, then at my mailbox, which literally had my last name carved into it, and chuckled. "Ma'am, I think there's a misunderstanding. This is my cabin. I've owned it for years." That set her off. "No, that's not possible. The HOA doesn't allow short-term rentals or unauthorized visitors. And I've never seen you at a meeting." Now, I'll be honest, I had no idea there even was an HOA in the area. But apparently, one of those cookie-cutter lake communities had sprung up about a mile down the road and declared themselves rulers of the region. This woman, let's just call her Karen, had no concept of boundaries. She somehow believed that her self-declared HOA extended jurisdiction over my private property, land that had been deeded to my family since before her neighborhood even existed, that I kept it cool. Again, I think you're confused. I own this property, and I'm not part of your HOA. "Oh, you will be once I report this to the board," she snapped, flipping open a leather binder. "This is a violation of Code 6.3, unauthorized occupancy, unregistered use of recreational structure." She actually had the nerve to start taking pictures of my cabin, my truck, even my grill. I said, "You're trespassing right now. Please, leave. I am the HOA president. You don't get to tell me what to do." That's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was going to be war. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of rustling outside. I opened the front door, and there she was again. Only this time, she wasn't alone. She had backup. Two guys with her, one carrying a clipboard, the other awkwardly filming with his phone. She called out, "This is your last warning. You're in violation of several HOA codes, and if you don't vacate, we will escalate the matter." I just stared. "Are you serious right now?" She marched right up to my porch, shoved a piece of paper in my hand. It looked like something printed off a Word doc in Comic Sans, and declared it an official notice of noncompliance. The rules were laughable. No outside fires, no grilling, no vehicles over 4,000 pounds, and, get this, no rocking chairs visible from the lake. Apparently, my entire life was an affront to their imaginary handbook that I handed it back. "You do know this property isn't in your HOA jurisdiction, right? I'm not even on your street. My land predates your subdivision by about 50 years. You think that," she sneered. "But all recreational zones fall under our revised charter. The board approved it last quarter." The camera guy chimed in. "Just let her do her job, man. You're making this harder." I laughed out loud. "This is harassment. Get off my land before I call the cops." Karen pulled out her phone. "Fine, then I'll call them. You'll regret this." And she did. Right there, in the middle of my driveway. She called 911. She told dispatch that there was a dangerous trespasser at cabin 14, that I was refusing to leave, that I had verbally threatened her. All lies. But what she didn't know was that I had cameras too, and that I had every legal document she would never see coming. 15 minutes later, the sheriffs rolled up. 2 cars. Lights. Flashing. One officer approached me cautiously while the other went to speak with Karen and her camera crew. "Sir, we got a call about a possible trespassing issue." The deputy said that I kept calm. "Absolutely, officer. Would you like to see the deed?" I pulled out a folder from inside the cabin, original property deed, tax records, and a copy of the land trust paperwork. Everything notarized, current, and legal. He took one look and raised an eyebrow. "This land is part of the Evergreen County Trust." "Yes, sir. It's been in my family for generations. I don't think her HOA rules apply here." Meanwhile, the second deputy was already talking to Karen, who was animatedly pointing at my porch, then at me, then at her ridiculous violation notice. She saw me hand over the deed and stormed over. "Don't believe him. He's lying. The board never approved this cabin. He's just trying to squat." The deputy calmly replied, "Ma'am, this land is private and not under your HOA. This cabin is on land his family owns. He's not trespassing." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a broken ventriloquist dummy. But the lake is shared." "No, ma'am," I added. "That lake is spring-fed and entirely within my boundary lines. The public lake is 2 miles east." She was stunned, silent for the first time since she'd arrived. The deputy turned back to me. "Everything checks out. You're good here. I'll file a report just in case, but you've got nothing to worry about." Karen, however, wasn't so lucky. Now here's where it gets even better. After things cooled down, I invited the deputy in for a quick chat. Off the record. We talked shop. Turns out, not only did I legally own the land the cabin was on, I also held title to over 12,000 acres of land in Evergreen County. Why? Because over the years, my grandfather had quietly bought up land. For conservation, mostly. Some plots went up for auction, and he snapped them up. By the time I inherited it, I was technically one of the largest landowners in the region. Some of the HOA's roads? On easements through my land. The cabin community Karen claimed to preside over? Built on a parcel originally leased out by our family trust, before their paperwork expired years ago. Legally, they had zero claim to enforce anything outside their narrow community boundary, and even that was sketchy. So when I said I own the county, it wasn't ego. It was fact. Karen tried to control land that literally fell under a conservation trust managed by me that I later followed up with my attorney just to double-check. Sure enough, their HOA charter never extended past Lot 117. My cabin, Lot 235, on its own parcel. Never opted in, never registered, never bound. She couldn't touch me that I didn't press charges, but I did send her a cease and desist and a certified map. In case she wanted to see just how small her empire really was. Karen vanished. After that, word spread fast in the community, And let's just say her iron grip over the HOA got a little slippery. People started asking questions. Why did you harass someone on private land? Why were you trying to enforce rules off our property? Did you know he owns half the county? She tried to spin it, of course. Claimed I was aggressive, hostile, a threat. But once the sheriff's report surfaced and folks saw the body cam footage, it was game over. The HOA board held an emergency meeting. I was invited, but declined. I had steaks to grill and a hammock calling my name. From what I heard, they quietly removed her from leadership, citing stress-related behavioral incidents. Translation: they couldn't afford the lawsuit that I also found out she'd been fining other residents for violations that didn't even exist. Fake citations, made-up fees, and a whole mess of complaints. Once she lost her power, a dozen people came forward. A few even thanked me for standing up to her. Turns out I wasn't the only target, just the first one with the resources to fight. Back that SO, what's the moral of the story? Don't mess with people you don't understand. Karen thought she was queen of the lake. She thought a clipboard and a title gave her the right to control everyone around her. But sometimes, the guy in flannel who looks like he came to chop wood owns more than you'll ever know. She tried to kick me off my own land. She called the cops on someone with legal authority over the entire region. She thought HOA power was bigger than centuries of ownership, state land records, and common sense. Spoiler alert, it's not. And to anyone out there who's ever dealt with a Karen like this, just remember, they only have as much power as you let them. Stand your ground. Know your rights. And if you ever inherit half a county from your grandpa, keep the receipts.as for me. I'm still here, still grilling, still rocking on my porch. And oh, more surprise visits. Unless you count the deer. Like and subscribe for more stories like this. And if you've got your own HOA horror story, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And to Karen, I hope she enjoys her new view from the public lake, because this one, still mine.